discipline. Okay, so if you want to challenge a student in the area of language, then you would go ahead and use this icon. Okay, and the language of the discipline basically focuses on terminology, lexicon, jargon, idioms, and here are a couple of different prompts to elicit students to think about the language of the discipline. What words are specific to the work in this discipline? What tools are used by the experts in this discipline? And what are the origins of new terms in this discipline? So here's an example. So it seems like this is a book report. However, if you notice, they have placed the icons here. So it allows the student to dig deeper instead of just saying who the author is, what the book was about, kind of that surface information. So if you notice here, the students expected to answer this question based on the language of the curriculum. What special writing techniques does the author use? Give examples. Again, in lieu of doing a basic book report, the student would be given this sheet instead. The next icon under depth and complexity is the icon of this flower, which is meant to symbolize details. So here you will notice the different prompts. What details define blank? What distinguishes this from other things? And what are its attributes? So the way that it's manifested within the classroom, if you notice, this science class went ahead and used this icon to determine the details that compose DNA. And they went ahead and, took it a step further and actually created the flower. But, what a great way to discuss those details that all contribute to kind of the definition of what DNA is. Here's another example. And for this, you will notice, for any of my math teachers, I love this example of depth and complexity. So for a student, again, that is mastering mathematics without any challenges, they are probably doing it, with their eyes closed, are able to compute everything. So it's really important that we give them a challenge. So for this situation right here, they went ahead, you will notice that they combined two icons, the rules icon and then the details icon. And here it says, rules help us determine the missing details. And if you notice, this is exactly how we're able to figure out the different degrees of an angle, because we are looking at the details that are missing. Okay, the next icon under depth and complexity is the icon of patterns, which is symbolized by this kind of Z letter. And here we have our 3 prompts. Describe the patterns you find. How does one pattern compare to another? Identify primary and secondary patterns. So for this situation, the way that it would be manifested within the classroom, so this would be for 2nd grade, and again, they're using the patterns icons. So it seems that their students are expected to sequence or kind of look at patterns within it seems like they're learning about the butterfly. So list things that are repeated over time. So we have here life cycle, larva, actually the life cycle of the butterfly. That is what's repeated. And then describe the patterns or the repetition that you find. And here the student went ahead and fill this in, predict what might happen next, and then they went ahead and drew a flower. They went ahead and drew the life cycle of the butterfly to showcase that is the pattern that they found. The next icon is the trends icon. The three prompts that we have here are: describe the trends, identify causes and results of a trend, and how do you evaluate a trend's importance. So the way that it's manifested within the classroom is list the causes and effects of this trend. So it's here, causes. Butterflies don't fly in the rain, so they can't get to the nectar they need and they can't reproduce. And because of this, there will not be enough eggs to produce caterpillars. Okay. And then here students are expected to discuss the trends that they notice and why is this important. And again, it concludes with having the students create a drawing of the trend that they found. The next icon is unanswered questions. And for this, the three prompts we have are: describe the unknown details or stimuli for the event, identify the origins of an unanswered question, and how do you evaluate an unanswered question's importance. Okay, so for this, we have think like a statistician. So it seems like maybe this is something that you can put in a page protector. And if you have students that need an additional challenge in a specific area, they can pull this out instead or in lieu of whatever assignment you're having the students complete as a whole class. And here, the teacher wrote, what unanswered questions arise from these graphs? So they're looking at graphs, and then the student is going to have to determine what are some possible unanswered questions that would be yielded from looking at those graphs. Okay, let me go ahead and just pause for a second. Okay, and I'm back. Okay. The next icon we have is the icon of over time. So we're looking at the past, the present, and the future. So a couple of prompts that you could give a student is: identify a time that this issue or topic was different. Or how does knowing things over time affect what we learn? How is history being made every day? So these are prompts, again, that you can, they guide a discussion that will ensure that we are tackling high order cognition for our students, again, that require that challenge. So the way that it is manifested within this specific assignment is in the following way. So again, change over time. The example that is given here is the following: explain how the food pyramid describing daily requirements has changed over time. So instead of having I believe the food pyramid and all of that health stuff is covered in 7th grade, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe earlier, I think 5th grade, and then it's continued into 7th grade. But instead of having a student who is high achieving or gifted, fill out their plate with the portions of food, and this and that, you might consider giving them this alternate assignment and having them explain how the food pyramid changes over time, again, as that additional challenge. You could also have a student look at ethics, which is the next icon under depth and complexity. And the three prompts that we would look at are: describe the ethical issues you find. How do ethics get developed? Or what are universal ethics or values? And this one really works well for English language arts. So if we look at this one, I think might be social studies, but it lent itself really beautifully to be able to kind of analyze ethics that either characters or historical figures had to kind of grapple with through their circumstances. So right here you will notice ethical issues that Paul Revere faced in his rights. And the really nice thing is that they went ahead and created the depth complexity icon right here of ethics. And it's just, again, it's nice to get students really knowing what the icons look like and what they represent. So soon you can go ahead and just embed that icon into a handout, a worksheet, and the students will know, oh, I'm expected to go ahead and review the ethics of whatever subject we're studying. Here's another example. So going back to the same graphic organizer of thinking like a statistician, in regards to ethics, the question that they pose here is the following: do any potential ethical issues arise from the presentation of this data? So again, instead of just looking at a graph, and making a conclusion about it, we're allowing the student to go deeper into the study of the graph and look at it from a different frame of reference, which again really strengthens the richness of this assignment. Multiple perspectives is the next icon under depth and complexity, and it is defined by glasses. And the three prompts are included: identify a different point of view and explain it. How does point of view affect what we learn? And when is your perspective different from others? So this teacher went ahead and did the glasses icon, and they went ahead and put this really nice prompt: how is Jack's perspective on his decision to leave the family at the beginning of the story different from Aunt Arabella's perspective? So they went ahead and, in one side of the lens, I'm sure they're going to go ahead, the kids have to write about Jack's perspective, and then on the other side it's going to be Aunt Arabella's perspective. And again, it's a really nice way of addressing students that require the challenge, instead of just answering basic comprehension questions. Another one is rules, and this one's really straightforward, but there's definitely a lot of ways that you can go ahead and incorporate this. A couple of the prompts that are included are: describe the rules, or how are rules related to patterns and details? How do you evaluate rules' efficiency and validity? So this is one of my favorite ways that they incorporated rules, and they're having students work on it. But it says here, create your own function table word problem. And of course, this one really focuses on the rules of function tables. And here are the jobs that students have to go ahead and ensure that they have. And it has the stipulations of the assignment. So you must include a word problem, the table must have a rule, you must use at least 3 depth and complexity icons, and each member must participate. And then finally, we have the last icon, which is across disciplines. And this one, again, kind of is a transdisciplinary approach to it, which is, again, really, really nice. But you can have students sort information that they're studying into several disciplines, or you can ask them, how do experts in a discipline learn from experts in other disciplines? And one way to address this within the curriculum, so the topic here is the Witch of Blackbird Pond, and it seems that the teacher would like the students to view or see social studies. What would they focus on as it pertains to this book, and reading and science? So again, it's a really nice way to help students take this big idea and really departmentalize